record. I'm sure somebody must have said that.
No,
You
I
did.
just totally remember.
Welcome to Celebrate Recovery. Say hi, Angela.
Hi,
I'm Angela. There you go.
Hi, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with drugs, alcohol, lust, food issues, anxiety, not wanting to go back to work. We've been off for a week, and my name is Chad.
Hey, Chad.
Hey.
We are actually not in Arkansas right now. That's the funny thing about this COVID thing is we can kind of come to you live from wherever right now in my parents' home down in Louisiana where we have celebrated Christmas kind of with my quarantined family, not because of COVID, just to social distance and to stay safe this holiday season. We have just been staying around eating a lot. That's what we do. We hope you have had a wonderful Christmas season. Just a few announcements before we get started. That at first, there are some in-person Celebrate Recoveries meeting in the Northwest Arkansas area. Christian Life Cathedral on Tuesday nights, Fellowship Bible Church on Friday nights, both at the Lowell and the Fayetteville location. If you need to get paper signed or if you just need a community, please consider attending one of those. We are still hoping to go back in person sometime mid-January. That is a hope. I'm hoping more than wishful thinking the way the numbers are and just concerning keeping everybody safe. We're just going to play it by ear. If we can't go back in person soon, we will continue to do this, which is our online live version where we bring our community together and have a great interaction. We're going to have a good talk tonight. And so we're so glad that you're joining us. We look forward to connecting with you guys on a weekly basis. And this particular week made plans to make sure that we didn't miss it by bringing all of our equipment and stuff.
Sometime we gotta, well, I guess I can see it in the preview thing we do. That's pretty fun.
See how we set all up. I got
a
hot light over here that's coming at me pretty strong, but that's okay.
Kick out the footlights. No.
All right, so that's pretty much the announcements that we have. We're going to kick it over to the 12 ourselves doing a 12-step, a different background because we put some time into it last week. We're going to reuse the Christmas theme 12 steps.
Well, we've already started pretty bumpily. Let's see how that bodes for the rest
Hold on, let me
of this.
Log back into
I've got it
this.
here. I can do it on my thing here. You ready? I kicked it on over, so we're at the 12 steps.
I keep forgetting where we're looking to. Okay, here we go. Do you want to do the first or the second?
I'll do the first one. I'm gonna look over here. Step 1, we admitted we are powerless over our addiction and compulsive behaviors and that our lives had become unmanageable.
For I know that good itself does not dwell in me,
that is in my sinful nature.
For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. Romans 7:18. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. For it is God who works in you to will and act according to fulfill his good purpose. Philippians 2:13.
Step 3, we made a decision to turn our lives and our wills over to the care of God. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship.
Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. Lamentations 3:40.
Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. James 5:16.
Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. James 4:10. Step 7, we humbly asked him to remove all of our shortcomings.
If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. 1 John 1:9. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Luke 6:31.
Step 9, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Therefore, if you're offering your gift in front of the altar, it's my fault.
And there
remember that your brother or sister has something against you.
Leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them. Then come and offer your gift. Luke 6:31. I think the wording is the same. I don't know if I messed that up.
They are. No, they're the same.
Step 10. We continued to take a personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall.
1 Corinthians 10:12.
Step 11. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will and for us and the power to carry that out. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly. Colossians 3:16.
And step 12, having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs. Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Galatians 6:1. All right, that is our 12 steps. And now we are going to transition out and kick it over to not only the Crosstown Band, but across the boot, the states that are known as the boot. We're going to kick it up.
Kick it to the top of the boot.
Kick it to the top of the boot to Justin.
To the top
Remember,
of
this
the
is the
boot.
time of our online expression, our online service, where we celebrate with you recovery. So if you have 30, 60, or 90 days of sobriety or clean time, or if you've surrendered something 6 or 9 months ago, or if you have a year or multiple years, and you feel comfortable writing them in the comments or messaging us, we would love to celebrate with you and together just say good job on that clean time. We know one day at a time, one step at a time. This stuff isn't easy work, especially during this lonely, chaotic season. And so we would love to celebrate with you. If you have something to celebrate, feel free to post it in the comments and we'll give you a little hands up or shout out while we go to worship.
Let's kick it over to Justin.
I am guilty, ashamed of what I've done, what I've become. These hands are dirty. I dare not lift them up to the Holy One. You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome. You gave your life to give me mine. You say that I am free. How can it be? How can it be? I've been hiding, afraid I'll let you down. Inside I doubt that you still love me. And in your eyes is only grace now. You plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains, you overcome. You gave your life to give me mine. right my wrongs, you break my chains, you've overcome, you gave your life to give me mine, you say that I am free, you plead my cause, you right my wrongs, you break my chains,
Great job,
Oh,
Justin,
it's
man.
always-
You always kill it. You do a great job
It's
for us.
encouraging,
Yep.
just like we all feel like we're together again. So thank you so much for that.
For sure.
So we were kind of talking, the last series that we did before our Christmas kind of celebration episode. If you missed that, I was a little late sending out the email this week. I just sent it out today. But if you missed it, it was a really fun celebration. Last week we had Christmas songs and trivia. If you want to continue the holiday spirit, feel free to go to the link in the email and you can rewatch it. But we finished up the acrostic that we were talking about, all the different kind of capacities that we can be healthy in. And the acrostic spells out PERMS, which is, I love that Celebrate Recovery always has like an acrostic that means something.
Always an acrostic.
Like but their acrostics are like hope, power. I think they build the word first and then add the words. We did it backwards. But it was physical, emotional, relational, mental, and spiritual, the kind of capacities at which we can consider as we're in our recovery journey. Are we getting healthy in all of these areas? Are we really being mindful? Oftentimes, I know for me, using I and me statements, I came into CR, for that one thing or, for that other thing.
Yeah.
I was angry. I was going through divorce. I had stuff going on. And so those are the things that brought me to CR. And as the layers peeled back, there were more and more things I took chips for. But it wasn't till several years in, I kind of backed up a little bit to see the bigger picture to go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I keep jumping from, I got this issue kind of cleared up. I got this issue kind of cleared up. But what does it look like to live a healthy life? And so we kind of addressed that over the last 6 weeks in what I thought was a pretty thorough picture of what it looks like to possibly be healthy. And so I thought, since this is the last Sunday of the year heading into 2021, and 2020 has been such a bit of a doozy, that
I knew you were going to say doozy. It's been a doozy.
he likes the word. I say golly and
Golly.
golly a
Oh,
lot
golly.
too.
It's a doozy.
Well,
I totally threw you off. I
say worse
apologize.
things, but I'm working on my swearing for 2020.
She's doing really good.
2021.
So, bring back swearing for 2021 and let's just get the year right. How about that?
No.
I'm kidding.
Ever since one of our leaders that comes and speaks every now and then, Greg, was talking about things that he was surrendering, and he surrendered to swearing, and I'm like, okay.
It's better than
Sometimes you hear other people surrender something and you realize maybe I need to work on that. That's the part of Celebrate Recovery. Scoot this way a little bit. We're not quite centered. On
I
this
look good
stuff.
over here
Okay.
though. This light's right on me.
So tonight we're going to do just kind of a recap.
not
We're going to
control
do
thing, is it?
an inventory of 2020, but not like a huge, big, long chart inventory, just like we do a daily inventory or a regular checkup once we are in the maintenance phase of our recovery. Just kind of look back and go, how did 2020 go with everything that we got hit with? How did we respond?
It's great.
I'm sure there were some things that we responded to, like we're surviving, and that's what we're going to give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
And then there were other things that we kind of probably go, man, I wish I could do that a little bit differently, or have responded a little bit differently. So we're going to do a little bit of inventory for 2020, and then also kind of look ahead and do some goal planning. Okay, let me pull this back up so I can. We don't have all of our
stuff.
all our stuff.
We don't
so
have all the stuff that would make it easy for us.
so we can see what we're doing. So I'm working off one computer. He's working off another computer.
We got all this stuff
Okay.
going on.
So
Sometimes it's nice to have technology sometimes.
let's go ahead to the next one. Let's do a year in review. First, can we celebrate some of the successes? And so,
Oh, why did that not change?
now we'll go to the next one.
There we go.
So just like an inventory, it's really important to not just look back at the year and go, oh my gosh, that year was really hard, this, and this are the things that I want to change. But to go back and kind of go, what were some things that went well? And I've heard from people already, this kind of a question I've been posing, that people slowed down, that people had, even if it was kind of forced, had to come up with how to have better time with their family. I know for us, we've talked about for years, every year would be like, we're going to eat out less this year.
We ate out less this year.
This year, we ate out less because we had to due to social distancing. But really, there was something for us that was a benefit for our family to eating dinners around the table. that we really enjoy, that we have said, hey, not only did it help us financially to not eat out as much, so that was something that we wanted to consider, but that eating at home was just better for.
It was better for us, I think.
For us.
You know, we didn't lose it. I didn't lose very much weight. I won't speak for you. But I enjoyed it a little bit more. And I think you know, what's funny is like, I want to say it was like May or June when I was sitting there thinking, we're really good cooks.
Oh.
I mean, you and me too. But mostly you, but you're a really good cook. You cook more than I do. And so I was like, the food we eat is actually, I don't know if it's healthier, just to be honest with you. I think sometimes we cook whatever we want. But we definitely did it was good. It tastes good. And so I was like, this is not bad. I mean, normally we'd be going out to eat or picking something up on the way home or something. And it would kind of be junk. And so it was definitely better in that way. So,
you know, I think sometimes eating out, it's not healthier food, and the portions are really a lot bigger. But sometimes you can eat at home and make things that aren't healthy. I like bread. I make bread a lot. We digress. At any rate, so a success for us when we were kind of going down them was kind of together meals at the table that we cooked. We even had this thing where Avery started kind of getting little stars on her chart for helping us clear the table, which really just meant she would bring her plate to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
But just little stuff like that, there was a sense of family togetherness that worked for us. So we would love for you, just wherever you are, to just kind of consider, was there something this year that went that went better than expected in response to all of the chaos, all of the changes, all of the things that we kind of had to adjust to? And we'd love for you to post in the comments if you're willing to. If that's something that you want to share, we'd love to kind of make this interactive and see.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say a couple things. I mean, and I guess that's just fair for us to share. It's our thing, right? So, but what I would say is we did food well, but I think we did a lot of projects. We finished a lot of things. We spent more time outside. Our evenings, we went on, I think, more family bike rides. I mean, we kind of transitioned away from sitting in front of the TV, especially in the summer. I mean, I know it's fall now, so we're watching a little more TV. But I'm like, there was just, I don't know. It felt like while we were a little more isolated, we spent a little more time with family. So that felt nice too. And work was a challenge. We can talk about that later. But there were some really good things about being home and being able to kind of not go as fast. It felt like the pace changed. So that was kind of some nice.
It's
nice
interesting
shifts.
too, because for Chad and I know it was different for a lot of people, and that's something that we kind of want you to include in this process. If you're willing to kind of share some of the things that were successes for you in this calendar year. But for us, there were a couple of opportunities that popped up that we said yes to. We prayed through and said yes to. And so we started our podcast. There were a couple other things that we got to be involved in where we felt we were still helping people get healthy and grow. And so that was something for us where we feel like it wasn't a wash. We actually continued to do what our mission is, which is to help others, to care about others. And so that's the thing that a chaotic year, an unexpected change sometimes can, especially when you're in recovery, throw us off because we're looking for structure when we've had none. That when that structure is taken away, it can kind of, I think of that scripture that says, who you were playing a good game, who got in your way from kind of completing your goal. Yeah. And that's something that I've heard from a lot of people this year is that we were on this journey. So many people that I hear who struggle with food issues, us included, were working out, eating healthy, on a goal to stay in shape for 2020. And then COVID hit, and I think eating became that comfort choice that so many people, including ourselves, leaned on. That our weight has really fluctuated, and it's something that we have both said. There have been successes, like we just said, we were eating at home, which was better, but then there have also kind of been some opportunities. So if we consider the next slide, it is kind of now, if you have named a couple of your things that you can go, this was successful for me this year, but also to kind of keep it balanced because we're really trying to do a picture shot of 2020. If we have a little spreadsheet or if we have a good and bad in the list, name some successes. Maybe you had some sobriety milestones. Maybe you had, you hit 2 or 3. We have a friend who is 6 years cigarette free, which is awesome. There are some people who hit some really big milestones and we want to celebrate that. And at the same time, as we kind of consider opportunities, so that the next one, sorry, is it going forward?
I think it's skipping on me.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
okay.
So if we want to consider opportunities, so one that we just talked about is that we didn't do a good job of eating as healthy as we would like to.
Yeah.
And the hard part is when we're together, that codependency sometimes kicks in, where if I'm eating bad, he'll be like, well, I'll eat bad too, or vice versa, where it's sometimes hard to kind of stay autonomous when
I wish
you're
it was that
together
way
with
with
someone.
other things. Like if you worked out, I could go work out or something. But eating bad is much easier.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If he works out, I'm not always motivated to. I'm like, good for you. I'm not doing it. But if he's eating bad, I'm like, yes, I think I'll join you in that.
Of course we will.
And just kind of being mindful of what our influences are in the process, so that we can kind of go, what do we wish we could do differently in 2020? That's not kind of the goal here. The goal is to go heading into 2021. Are there any things that we just kind of want to say, these are things I want to focus on? These are things I want to possibly adjust or figure out a way to respond to differently.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of keep this going as we kind of talk about what that might look like. So as I go forward, I don't know, sorry, we're
She goes forward. I didn't know.
bumbling through our stuff here. But as we kind of think about opportunities that we want to adjust, the question maybe would be, are there patterns that show up that you can recognize that you want to switch? When I think about it in terms of perms, the idea there is physically, are there patterns that showed up that I want to adjust or cut into or respond to differently? Emotionally, were there things that happen? I know for me, the beginning of March and April, there was some heaviness, there was some anxiety, there was some fear. We didn't know what was happening. But there was, for me, this idea that it's going to end soon and everything will get back to normal. And then the summer came, and then the fall came, and that heaviness just kind of stayed and didn't shift and didn't lift. And I had to figure out a way to address it, to talk about it, to share it with somebody, to get it responded to invite God into it. There were things that I had to do, or it would have kept me kind of down, heavy, and stuck. And so I know for me emotionally, that was something, as I kind of just journaled and made a note in 2021, I want to be mindful. If my body says, hey, you have a little bit of anxiety, I did a thing where I was like, oh, it'll go away soon once everything goes back to normal. Things didn't go back to normal. And so sometimes we can kind of dismiss our emotion or dismiss what it is that we need to address, hoping the circumstance will change quickly or hoping that things will kind of settle out. And when they don't, we're still left with that emotion that we didn't deal with, and we've prolonged the ability to respond to it. So that was something for me. Relationally, have there been kind of patterns in 2020 when you didn't like the way you were interacting with somebody relationally? And what would it look like to shift that? What would it look like to maybe overcome a conflict conversation or push into something that seems scary to confront or to address that might need to be addressed? Mentally and spiritually is the same. 2 weeks ago, we tackled the spiritual component of this idea. And something Chad and I both agreed for us that we want to do is together, talk about the stuff we're reading in the Bible more, have a discussion about what he's reading, what I'm reading, how it's affecting us, how we apply it in our daily lives. And that's something that, again, 2020 hit, and there were little things that we just kind of set aside and weren't intentional about being mindful of. And that was something that we both said kind of we wanted to bring into the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, we've
What
just
about
been.
for you?
I mean, here I can go ahead. We were just busy. I mean, on one hand, it's like everything stopped, but on the other hand, it's like everything shifted, and so there was this huge. And I guess I'm back like 4 slides where it was this huge like change where it's like all of a sudden, opportunity wise, it's like, can we continue to move forward? Can we grow? And that's kind of thinking about this year, 2021 in comparison to last year. I'm just like, man, I mean, I hope it doesn't continue to shift as much as it does. But at the same time, I know that going back to in-person everything and services and all of that's going to present its own challenges. I mean, we even tried to do it a couple times in the fall, and it seemed like we just didn't have the bandwidth to do both things, to really
Yeah.
kind of engage in the online service and then engage in in what we wanted to do in person. So, even thinking about how that's going to happen, it feels like we're going to have to be double duty or
Yeah.
something. And so in my head, I'm like, I know there's going to be more transition again, but I don't know how that's going to land on me physically, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, mentally, all those things. I'm like, and looking backwards, I'm like, man, it was a hard year in some ways. And in other ways, there was this really kind of nice, sweet time that we had. So,
Well, even the idea
Yeah.
of online CR, that was something we were just going to
Yeah.
kind of wing or just do in this tiny little interim phase. It was never something
we thought we'd be doing it for a month.
Yeah, never something we thought we would be continuing into December and kind of taking on the road, which we have multiple times now. This
Yeah.
is we came this summer
times?
when we
Yeah,
visited
4
Louisiana. We've gone live when we went to Colorado as well, done some little traveling during this. But if I think about next year, something else that we really had to adjust to, which I know a lot of people did, is we have a 4-year-old that lost childcare during a lot of that
Yeah.
year. And so we had to adjust quickly. And then even the kind of interim childcare that we did have, if somebody got exposed or, if something happened, then again, we would have to make these adjustments. And so there
Yeah.
were times when I would just feel like I had a steady, consistent schedule, and then there would be an exposure or a quarantine. It's like, okay, back to something different. And so for me, I think heart-wise, there was this flexibility that I think we were forced to learn. It wasn't even that I almost like walked into 2020 thinking this year is going to be the year where I learn how to hold on to my plans loosely and allow myself to be flexible when things change.
Well, I mean, we said it a bunch of times, but it's like we walked in it had to be like April or May. Maybe it was June. But we had these calendar events that
Yeah.
were like,
Cancel
we
them all.
plan our year out we're a year, I've got my next year planned. And I'm like,
It's true.
and I'm like, so I'm sitting here going, how in the world? So in June, we just kind of erased everything. Like it was like,
Yeah.
okay, just done. We're not doing that. And we're going to see what we'll have to flex as we go. And then we never landed on our feet, really. I mean, I still feel like we're kind of in this limbo of COVID and saying, when will this end? Even though there's, whatever. I'm not trying to say great vaccine, no vaccine. That's not the question. It's just, when does it end?
Yeah.
Right? That's the question. And so I'm in this real weird kind of like, even with work, I mean, this is a funny example, but how can we make adjustments for the year ahead? I'm like, I was at Sam's today and I saw 2 webcams that were pretty cheap. And for my work, we're constantly using them. So I've like bought 2 of them, but I'm like, is this going to be over in 2 months or in 6 months or in no month? I mean, maybe it's never going to really go back. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we're still trying to make little adjustments. And I'm like, golly, there's a lot to know.
Give a little-
and we can't.
Give a little hand up in the comments if you're somebody who has been force-fed
Adjustment.
flexibility.
We're going
as-
to pivot.
As
That's
your
what people said all year.
2020 word.
Golly.
Everybody pivot. That has been kind of a catchphrase I've heard so many people say, like how we, in the middle of the game, had to kind of switch and go a different direction to keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I was super impressed with, how many churches, how many companies, how many families, all the things were more resilient than anybody thought we would be. And so there is this like, hey, we made it, we're surviving, we're doing the best we can. And there is also this like, we're exhausted, and what does it look like for us to kind of go, how do we now prepare for adjustments, flexibility, holding things more loosely? Because I don't think it's ever going to work for us now that we kind of, as a culture, have been traumatized by this unpredictable change. I don't think any of us are going to hold on to our plans as tightly as we have in the past. And that seems kind of like a bummer, but I think hurts, habits, and hangups tend to teach us, if we're paying attention, how we can go forward. I mean, that's what our body does naturally, is it remembers when we have been hit by pain or we have been hit by something that caught us off guard, and our survival instinct kicks in and says, we're not going to be caught off guard again. What does it look like for us to be prepared for things we weren't prepared for before? So even as we're preparing for 2021, and this is the question for you, where are areas where you want to adjust or improve, that idea is, what does it look like to be as prepared as we can be to be flexible, to be mindful, to not kind of stay stagnant, but in terms of here are the things now that I want to change. We've kind of done a reflection. Here are the things that we recognize were successes, were opportunities. Now, if we do look forward, what do we want to change? And the same as we kind of look back for the opportunities, if we're thinking ahead, go back to that PERMS acrostic again. As a matter of fact, on my journal, I just kind of to the left wrote out PERMS and set little goals physically. I want to walk or run or do some sort of exercise on a more regular basis than I did. That's a goal I'm setting for myself. Emotionally, I don't want to, this is another goal I set for myself, put off responding to an emotion my body is telling me I need to respond to, like anxiety, like sadness or disappointment, because I don't know how long they will have to be delayed. It's important if my body is sending me a message that I go, okay, probably need to, it's warning me about something. I probably need to tend to it or address it or at least invite somebody else into that space. Relationally, mentally, spiritually, all of these things, I've put like a little comment beside what I want 2021 to look like so that I can kind of set a goal and have a plan of where I'm going.
Yeah. I like the idea of it. I mean, I like the idea of saying, hey, we're going to look at this and really think through like, how am I going to address these areas in my life, and so that's good. I like that. Good
I
stuff.
think part of the process that we went through when we were considering talking about this is once we have kind of been hit with such an adjusted year, it's like now we're all on, I want to say the defensive. I mean, that's kind of a football term that my dad used for so long, is instead of kind of being on the defensive, now always responding to the things that are coming our way. What does it look like to be mindful of the driver's seat that we're in? Even though there are things kind of coming at us that we have to respond to, in Celebrate Recovery, in recovery in general, as we dig into our healing, we do realize that there are some choices that we can make. There are some things that we can at least be responsible for, the choices that we're making around, for me, Bible reading, disciplines like that, exercise, food, how I respond to others, that kind of stuff. If I'm tending to my heart emotionally, if I'm allowing somebody, accountability, a sponsor, somebody else into my mental process to make sure that I'm staying sound and staying healthy mentally.
It's good.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think those are all things that we can look at, and as far as making goals and thinking about how we're going to move forward, I think it would be a good goal to say, hey, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to try to be realistic around, what I've got going on and how it works, or I'm going to be intentional. Like if you've never done any of this, maybe it's just a goal to pay attention to it, to start to think about it and start to go, okay, I'm going to try to listen to what my body's telling me, what my heart's telling me, and try to engage in a way that's, good for you, healthy for you. I think it's easy for me to get sidetracked or off my game and go and just kind of, and especially in a year like this year, where it's so much is pivoting and shifting, to kind of just try to survive. Like I think everybody's kind of like treading water and doing as much as they can to get things done. And we kind of, I tend to anyway, miss some of how I'm doing or what I'm doing. And so all of a sudden you get 6 months into that and you're like, I'm out of energy. I'm out of what I need to continue. So if this year you could just make it a plan to say, hey, I'm going to check in with myself a little bit more regularly. However good or poorly you do that, however well or poorly you do that, I would say it would be a good goal to try to listen to your gut, listen to your heart, listen to what's going on inside you, so that you can have some volition, some ability to engage with the world around you and yourself. I mean, it's easy for us to get taken off track by our emotion or by our thinking. I mean, even our cognitive planning and hopes and dreams and wishes. And, I'm somebody who's known for starting to like think about how to take over the world in some ways, like, oh, we could do this.
Not
and
in
we could
like
do that,
a crazy concrete kind of way, but in a positive.
And like, how can I make more money? How can I make more time? But a little bit, it feels like that sometimes. And I mean, I think most of us do that. I think we start thinking, how can I get ahead?
So
how can I
big.
win? How can I? And it's like, that thinking takes us off track. I mean, puts us in a bad spot.
The hard thing about that too is the challenge, even with the talk we're doing tonight, review the past and consider the future and make a plan. There is something about that that can be dangerous. If we review too much or we plan ahead too much, then we don't stay present. And staying present is important to do because it tells me what is going on for me right now. When we do that PERMS check, how am I currently doing? Physically, emotionally, relationally, mentally, spiritually. I mean, that is a present in mind, but we can look back and reflect, how have I done in those and what do I want to change in those? But the idea, exactly what Chad is saying, is you can kind of get so far ahead of yourself and set some plans in.
I think of that as my mental process, right?
Yeah,
if we're
yeah.
thinking about it, like my brain starts going, how can I build, make, do, make stuff
Get it
happen.
all done.
Even thinking about our house, like I'm like, I can plan out a whole different layout to our house. And I'm like, I'm not even ready to make any moves on any of that. I'm like, why am I spending so much energy on some plan or something? And I'm like,
but I think that is, the mental process he's talking about. What does it look like to go, how do I stay present? How do I make sure I'm not missing what's happening in my life today because I've spent too much time maybe buried in the shame of my past, or spend too much time worrying or stressed about the future, or even planning ahead, but then I miss what's happening right now. And so the idea here is really to make realistic, to make achievable goals. You know, I tell people a lot of times when they come into recovery and maybe they have a laundry list of things they need to work on, start with one. This idea, one day at a time, one step at a time. I always kind of say one hurt at a time, one habit at a time. I think a lot of times too, just people that we've worked with that come in and they want to get sober from drugs or alcohol, and that's step one. And then you'll find, or I'll find as they work through the steps, work through the process, that a year in, they've been sober from drugs and alcohol and now want to work on eating issues, or now want to work on anger, or now want to give up other things like maybe cigarettes or something else that they're including in that journey. If they would have on day one said, here's my list of 82 things I want to work on, that's overwhelming. It's really hard to do too much. And so in this process of setting achievable, realistic goals, we talk about it all the time with even our weight, our body image, our health, our physical health as we're working on it. In the past, something that I think has derailed me, I'll use I and me statements, is I'm gonna lose like 25 pounds by February, or whatever the goal will be. And instead, something that has started to work for me is this week, I'm just going to try to eat healthy. Today, I'm going to choose something healthy over something unhealthy. And if I just do that one day at a time, I will find that I am hitting more long-term goals. And so maybe it's that this week, I'm going to try not to lean on my unhealthy behavior. This week, I'm gonna phone a friend if I'm having a hard time, include accountability, call a sponsor. And if I can just take it in little chunks, then as the process continues, I find myself getting to a place where I am retaining more of the health that I have set out to achieve.
Something I've thought about this with lots of things before, but you can't start sobriety tomorrow, or you can't start a diet tomorrow. I mean, you can say, okay, I'm going to do it on Monday, and I get that idea, but like the way that denial works is, I'm going to get to this later, or I don't have a problem right now. You know, it's like there's this thing that a lot of times denial does for us that pushes stuff off, and so it's easy for us to miss or not attain our goals by it always being one step away, right? And so if you're saying, hey, I really want to change something, I really want to do something differently, sure, you can wait till January 1st or Monday or whatever it is, but really the best way to do it is to start the diet and be on it now, be in it now, right? All of our change happens in the present. And so all of our decisions, all of our future, all of our next moves all depend on right now. And so the more we can be present, the more we can be aware, the more we can kind of stay in tune with ourselves. And that's what this whole PERMS thing is about, is being aware. Right? The more we can do that, the more we'll be able to make healthy choices in the now, the more we'll be able to make healthy choices that affect our whole future, the rest of our year.
It's something that Chad kind of told me that he used to do when he worked at the residential treatment facility that he was at. And it's something I want to bring up because I think it's kind of clever. And that is, as we think like 6 months from now where I want to be, let's say 6 months from now, I want to be in better shape, or, in a place where I'm reading my Bible more, lost a couple of pounds, making healthier eating choices. emotionally checking in on a more regular basis. And I have my little outline that I've put down and have set these goals. Chad has talked to me that this is something he did, and I love it, and I kind of apply it. I'm like, if I want to be there in 6 months, then what do I need to be? Where do I need to be in 3 months? It's like the halfway. And if I want to be at the halfway in 3 months, then where do I need to be in
maybe a month? I cut it
I'm
down
like,
a little
what's
bit.
the half of 3 months?
6 weeks. But
In 6 weeks. And if I want to be half of that, like he kind of just kept cutting it in half and then kind of went, so what do I need to do in the next half hour to get to that goal 6 months from now? What do I need to do tomorrow to get to that goal 6 weeks from now? That idea is what he's saying is we can't just set these long-term goals down the road hoping we're going to achieve them if we don't start doing it now. And so one final thought in this is that we're not in this alone. If we had the ability to do this by ourselves, all of us would already be where we want to be, healthier, in a better position, in a different place. We don't. And that's not how God designed us relationally. We are made to help each other, bear each other's burdens, carry the weight of, if you're having an emotionally hard day, maybe I'm not, and I can carry that weight with you, or vice versa. There are days when I'm kind of down and I'll phone a friend and get encouragement. And that encouragement reminds me the work I've done and where I'm at. We can do that for each other, but both of us also have people that we call when we need to be encouraged or when we want to just let somebody in on our process. So whether it's asking for help through, maybe it's your step study group or your accountability team or a sponsor or a trusted friend, I would encourage you to consider what are some of the things I want to kind of tackle or consider changing, adjusting, working on, habits I want to maybe shift, hang-ups that I want to lay down for 2021. And what would it look like for me to let my sponsor accountability team in on that and ask them to hold me accountable? Hey, will you specifically ask me if I've gone on a walk outside this week? Or will you specifically ask me if I've made one healthy eating choice over an unhealthy eating choice this week? Not like a, hey, I'm just calling to check, but like a, hey, you've asked me to help hold you accountable. This is the question that you've given me. I say that all the time. Load your accountability team up or your sponsor up with questions that you'll be willing to answer, questions
that you need to answer.
That you need to answer.
At least put yourself in a tough spot.
Yeah.
So if you're going to lie about it, at least you've made it hard on yourself.
Chad used to give me a hard time and say, you're only held accountable to what you allow yourself to be held accountable to. So maybe that's it for you this year, is that you're going to make a note to really be held accountable for the things that you want to change.
It's good.
And then when you've given your accountability team permission to ask you about those things, you can answer.
Try to tell the truth, man.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Not justify or deny or hide.
It's funny how many times people, they ask me to ask them about something or be accountable with them for something and do something with it. And I'm like, okay, I will. And then they don't answer the question. Like they'll not tell me the full truth. And I work as a counselor. A lot of you know that. But I'm like, why not tell me? Like, as a counselor, I'm like, I'm literally paid not to tell your secrets. Like that's a big part of why people talk to counselors. And I'm like, and we have training and all the rest of it. But I'm like literally, I'm just somebody on your team trying to help you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how it is in CR. Now I know we're not paying each other. Maybe we should just pass dollars back and forth or something. I don't know. But like, I feel like it's really hard. It's really hard to be accountable to someone, even if because we hate to fail.
Well, it's not only that we hate to fail. I think there is this part of us kind of instinctually that wants approval, that wants to be accepted. And so they're the same. There are people who I work with and I get to kind of get to know them. They get to know me. I'm going to say we become friends, even though the capacity is in a ministry setting where I'm helping somebody walk through the journey. Friendships are formed. And so then it'll be a week or 2 or 3 into working with somebody or working with a friendship. I'll be like, hey, by the way, remember that hard thing? It kind of like reminds you, oh, wait a minute, you're not really my friend. You're just here to give me a hard time, and that's not it. And so there has to be this kind of shift that makes us realize authentic, vulnerable friendships where people really care about your well-being are going to do this step where we hold each other accountable at a different level than just, I want your approval friendship. This is a different level. This is that relational aspect of what healthy looks like. Says, brothers, if somebody is caught in an unhealthy habit or hang up, you who have been asked to should restore them gently by asking them the questions. Totally just manipulated that scripture. But still, that's kind of what that's saying, is that we're here for each other, not only just for the acceptance piece, but also for the, hey, you've asked me to help you on this journey, and I just want you to know I care about you. I want to be here for you to kind of lean on. And also there is this, because there were times when I'm like, because somebody's going to ask me, I'm just going to do the right thing because I don't want to tell them no or let them down. We'll leverage that codependency in a good way.
I want to say, I'm going to go back a little bit. I like what you're saying. There is a paradox.
Yeah.
Not a pair of ducks, not a pair of docks, but a paradox. Because we want acceptance. We want to be seen, loved, needed, desired, included, all these things. And in order to be in relationship, we have to be vulnerable. So we have to be able to go, hey, here are my hard parts. Here are the things that aren't, so the messy parts of me. And so in order to be in recovery and to be healthy, we have to be able to talk about what is not so comfortable, what's not so healthy. And it's really risky, because even in a recovery community, we start to come together, we start to know each other, we start to feel safe, or work or church or whoever it is. And again, we're not saying go disclose everything to everybody at your work or your church maybe, but like somewhere people need to find community where they're accepted, where they're loved, where they're known, where they're seen, where they're valued.
Where they can be in process.
And can share themselves.
Yeah.
We're all in we're in process. That's not even that you can't be a human and not be in process. You know, there are sometimes people, I can't do this or I can't do that, or I'm gonna always be this is just how I am. I'm like, you won't be that way next week. We change all the time.
He's getting fired up now, you guys.
I mean, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I'm like, we are in process. And if we don't talk about the process, then we get sick.
Yeah.
And so being able to talk about the process, have community, share about yourself, it's important. It's not something we can't keep going if we don't share. And so it's important that we find ways to open up, to share, to have some level of accountability. Nobody expects everybody to share everything. But I do want to encourage you this year to be aware of yourself, be aware of what's going on inside you, find the community that you need, whether it's here or anywhere else, and tell your story, share your story with somebody this year.
I love it.
What do you got?
Good job. That's it.
Is there another slide?
That's it.
You closed your computer, so I was getting worried.
All of the slides we have.
We're out of here.
Consider
We'll
2020.
see you in 2021.
Consider what you want to shift for 2021. Include your accountability team or sponsor or friend or whoever it is. Journal, write some stuff down. That also is another way for us to kind of hold ourselves accountable. If you look back at your journal or make a plan to journal. I hate journaling, but it also is something I'm committed to.
Journaling. I've done it before. I'm not very good at it right now. But seriously, 2021, I want to do a better job, whether we're COVID or not or whatever, of being accountable, showing up for people, paying attention to how I'm doing, engage with some really
and how
strong
can
goals.
Chad and I help you? I mean, we want to see the people in our ministry succeed. We want to see them kind of hit these sobriety dates and get healthier. And so there are times when we want to incorporate mental health or just different kind of goals of saying, hey, here's some of the stuff that's worked for us, successes that we've had, and also some of the stuff we still struggle on. If we as a community share that stuff together, we believe that we can kind of get healthier together. So that's our talk for tonight.
Tonight we're going to go into the next part of our service is our blue chip. We're going to have another worship song we're going to play. Justin's at the top of the boot ready to go, and he's going to sing a song for us. But if you've got something that's going on for you, if you've got something you're struggling with, or something that even if you just want to say, hey, I want to be better, I want to be more intentional next year about community, about listening to my heart, about being able to engage with myself and be present more often, so that I'm in more control of my life, so that I can be more available to people and myself. You know, if that's something you're thinking about, if that's something you'd like to take a blue chip for, feel free to post it in the comments or text it to us or message it to us. We'd be glad to get one sent to you. We've been trying to do a good job of that. So thank you so much for checking us out this year, man. This has been a crazy year, and we just appreciate you guys doing this with us. So we're going to kick it over to Justin. If you've got a blue chip or something you want to lay down, let us know.
a hungry child. I dried up a river. I was a burned out forest. No one could do anything for me. You put food on my body, water in my dry bed, and to my blackened branches, you brought the springtime green of new life. Nothing is impossible for you. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death. You have redeemed my soul from the pit of emptiness. You have redeemed my soul from death.
Hey there, Forever family. I miss you guys a ton. I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with depression, food issues, codependency, plethora of other things, and my name's Bailey.
I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with food addiction, anger, control, a whole host of things. And my name is Leslie.
I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. Struggles with bitterness, anger, unforgiveness. And my name's Jeff.
I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with trust, relationship issues, and anxiety, and my name is Sarah.
I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who struggles with anxiety, depression, and control, and my name is Amanda. If you would, please join me in reading this serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can,
And the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace.
Taking as Jesus did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it.
Trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life.
and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I was
guys.
looking at the backgrounds and everybody's got like these green, lush, nice things. I'm
That was our
like,
summer mashup.
oh, that was the summer one. Where'd the grass go?
Oh,
Anyway,
it's so good to get to
Yeah,
connect with you
for
guys
sure.
every Sunday night. We look forward to continuing to see you here Sundays at 6 live on Facebook. You can watch the link on YouTube that we send in the email later. And we'll keep you posted as when we're going to start back and what that's going to look like. You guys have a wonderful week.
blessings.
He just had to get the last word in, which is why
I
he
just-
said blessings.
I don't have to, but I
I'm going to
control
try to
this
talk
thing.
more. Then we could go all night.
We sure could.